Can technology be the game changer for Asian wealth management?
It could be, but I don't think we need to overrate it. I think we need to be careful to think about how technology is part of a broader process of delivering a premium luxury experience. Any high-value consumer service business knows that digital plays a part commercially, but they will never ever let go of the rest of the process of the engagement. So I know that most of the industry is talking about it all being technology, and I don't disagree, but I think we need to be careful about not getting ahead of ourselves. We still have to get the basics right.
Seb, how are forward-thinking institutions leveraging different channels, digital, social, mobile?
The most forward institutions are actually leveraging it not just around the customer experience, but around the data. And I think that's the really significant thing. Most of our business clients at institutional level are beginning to question, digital is an outbound reach to clients, fine, but what about collecting the information when they come inbound, when they interact with the business? So digital becomes a trace source of information. DBS is taking that route with the Watson solution. That's great. And it's a good bank-led example, but there are plenty of other fantastic examples, less so in Asia, but particularly in the US, where they're beginning to understand that the technology is a two-way street of information out and information in. At a business level, you have to pay attention to how you collect that information in, because then you can be a better business.
And what does the phrase big data mean to you?
Big data to us is not something that necessarily the industry is ready for yet. I think the industry has to think about just better data at the moment. The data that the industry has in its investment world is phenomenal. It's what it's excellent at. But the data it has on its client world is not phenomenal. It's actually very, very poor. They know that. The regulators know that. Even the clients know that. So there's a lot of work to be done. What we have to be careful of is that technology doesn't just become a plaster that fixes that problem, but it can be done very cleverly to become better data. When you have better data, to explain what I think it means in the context of big data, is that we start to get the information flow. If we get the information flow, we can start to analyze it. We can start to look at client opportunities. We can identify clusters of client behavior that will make us look much more intelligent when we're being proactive with new clients, new opportunities, and even existing clients with new opportunities. That's where big data will begin. We're still at the early stages of this, where it's just moving from data to better data on the client side. And that's the key message that I think the industry needs to get a hold of, that they haven't done just yet.
Seb, where do you stand on the buy or build debate?
Everyone talks about consolidation in the market, and you can see that happening with AUMs. I'm not that interested in it in the broadest terms. I think there's intelligent buying, which doesn't necessarily mean buying financial books of business. It actually means buying components of a better business. So I'm interested in firms that are doing acquisitions around specific capabilities, software, outreach, consumer engagement, but not necessarily just buying simple assets under management. That will incrementally move the industry, and we know that that's often what people like to do. A deal is like a kill, but so what? But actually the future is around being much more intelligent and building the future private bank. There, I'm a believer in buy.
And what advice would you give clients trying to get the most from their vendors?
You have to start to trust their capacity to want to do better business for you. You have to start to be much more collegiate about the engagement process. There is still a distinction between a them and us, which isn't constructive in this market. Vendors want clients to succeed. They want clients to succeed because that implicitly will make them succeed too. We find that in most cases the vendors are often, at a certain stage in the relationship, challenged by the provider, by the institution that engages them, and it becomes very contrarian or controversial, which is a pity. And I think that's one of the issues. Now, what can they do in order to be more collegiate? They have to interact much better with the information that they share. They have to work together about information that they collect into the open market in order to develop the products and services, the BPO, whatever it might be from a vendor perspective, that can do better. We work with vendors and the financial institutions to better understand the clients. And that's crucial. But many firms don't do that yet, and that's a pity.
Seb, how do you help clients overcome implementation and legacy issues?
Firstly, understand the legacy issues that they have. One of the issues that they often approach around legacy is we can't deconstruct what we've invested in the past. And the simple two-word question is, why not? It may have been fit for purpose then, but is it fit for future purpose? And that has to be addressed. There's a false economy in continually upgrading, adapting something that may actually fundamentally never be versatile enough for the future. But that means you have to be pretty open-minded and bold in the context of the decision-making process. And for many institutions, that's a tough ask.
And how do you think technology can help advisors become more efficient and more productive?
I think in the broadest context, advisors haven't yet adapted to technology when it comes to the customer relationship. All advisors will, moan and be very happy on either equal measure around the systems that they interact with to do with the investments, so the portfolio management systems, and even to some extent the basics of the CRM. But they haven't really embraced the context of technology in the process of the relationship management. And that, as I was saying a bit earlier in this conference, is the real obstacle to future development of digital in the wealth management model. And it's got less to do about the capacity of the digital and even less to do about the capacity of the advisor in the context of they understand how to use digital, they're consumers themselves. It's got most to do with their capacity to change. What they did before and how they were paid before is not necessarily what they're going to be expected to do in the future. And that is difficult to adapt to. New advisors that come into the industry will be okay with it. But advisors that have been in the industry for 10, 15, 20 or more years, that's a big adaptation. I'm very optimistic that they can, but the senior management of most private banks need to invest the time and the understanding and even the re-education to get them to that place. Otherwise, they'll lose the value.